Dans les filets, in the nets, le numéro 30, number 30, Sergei Melenkov. À la défense, en défense, le numéro 5, number 5, Alexei Guzarov. Le numéro 27, number 27, Igor Stelnov. À l'avant de forwards, le numéro 9, number 9, Vladimir Krutov. Le numéro 24, number 24, Sergei Makarov. Et le numéro 28, number 28, Victor Tiyumenev. Et le reste du club de l'Armée Rouge and the rest of the Red Army team. L'instructeur, the coach, Mr. Viktor Tikhanov. Ses assistants, his assistants, Boris Mikhailov et Viktor Kuzkin. Mesdames et messieurs, il y a 10 ans, ce soir, nous présentions sur la glace du Forum un match de hockey entre ces deux équipes. Match qui fut qualifié à juste titre comme l'un des plus beaux matchs de hockey de l'histoire du hockey. L'édition 85-86 des Canadiens compte parmi ses joueurs actifs 3 joueurs qui ont disputé ce fameux match du 31 décembre 1975. 3 active players on the Canadian rosters played 10 years ago, December 31st, 1975, in a game between these same 2 teams, which was qualified as one of the best hockey games ever played. Je voudrais vous présenter ces 3 joueurs. I would like to introduce these 3 players, starting with the team captain, Bob Gainey. L'ailier droit, right wing, Mario Tremblay. Et à la défense, celui qui a joué le plus de nombre de fois contre les équipes internationales, on défense, Larry Robinson. Larry Robinson et Bob Gainey sont de l'alignement partant ce soir. Je voudrais vous présenter les autres. Larry and Bob are in the starting lineup tonight. Here are the others in the starting lineup. Dans les filets, in goals, le numéro 1, number 1, Doug Sotar. À la défense, on defense, le numéro 25, number 25, Peter Svoboda. Au centre, at center, le numéro 21, number 21, Guy Carbonneau. Et à l'aile droite, on right wing, le numéro 30, number 30, Chris Nyland. Accueillons maintenant les autres membres des Canadiens pour le match de ce soir. And the rest of your Montreal Canadiens. Accueillons également l'entraîneur-chef des Canadiens, Jean Perron, et son adjoint Jacques Lapérière. Voulez-vous maintenant, s'il vous plaît, vous lever et vous joindre à M. Guy Pichet, accompagné à l'orgue par Mme Diane Bibot, pour l'interprétation des hymnes nationaux. Would you please now rise and join Mr. Guy Pichet, accompanied on the organ by Vyacheslav Fetisov et Bob Gainey. Et j'inviterai maintenant M. Eric Molson à faire la mise au jeu protocolaire.
Well, the ceremonies have been completed, and Ron, it's an exhibition game, but you get a standing ovation or two for the pregame introduction. Tells you something, doesn't it? It tells you something about New Year's Eve in the Montreal Forum. It is consistent, it has always been great, and I expect the same thing again tonight. Bob, seems rather strange to see the Soviet skater and Tretiak isn't in the nets in this place.
A lot of new names, but they're still great skaters. We're looking forward to a great game tonight, and there's something about this building. Tradition, it's all over the place. The Canadiens will give 100% tonight.
And it all begins in just a moment. You're watching a Molson Hockey Special on CTV. There's the National Hockey League officiating crew handling tonight's hockey game. Andy Van Hellemond is the referee. Wayne Bonney and Gerard Gauthier will be working the lines. And Ron, a couple of goaltenders who haven't been here before in this situation.
Sergei Malinkov in goal for the Central Red Army. And the last time we saw a Soviet team here, the name was Tretiak. So a new face, certainly. Not a new face, a veteran National Hockey League goaltender, Doug Sotard, who was making his first start ever against a Soviet team. And we're set to go at center ice as the Canadiens send Carbonneau out there along with Gainey and Nyland, and from the face-off, it's Robinson clearing it through center ice and back into his own zone to pick it up is Gusarov. He's checked by Nyland. Also in there is Gainey as the Canadiens take the play immediately into the Central Red Army zone. Makarov trying to get out of the zone. He's checked, but out through center ice now come the Soviets. Over the line, carrying the puck is Stelnov, but he's checked up against the board. Still loose. Krutov trying to get the shot away, and he missed the net with it. Around the boards it comes. Out near the point now. It is checked away from Gusarov out to center ice. Down over the line comes Nyland, and the puck is kicked in. I think it was deflected in towards the goal by Fetisov. And back there is Gusarov now to pick it up. Cutting in front of his own net. He feeds it to Fetisov. The team captain for the Central Red Army, as well as the Soviet national team. It's cleared out to center ice now. Yu-Money can't knock it down. Picks it up once again. Circles back and drops it for Fetisov. Fetisov having trouble handling that puck. Now clears it to Svoboda. Svoboda checked as he came through center ice and turning with it. And starting right back out again is Homutov. Homutov back in over the line now and is taken away from him by Bobby Smith. Smith off the boards on the far side and is tipped out to center ice by Shel Dahlin. Cutting across ice is Kazatonov. It's left in the center ice zone, and it's Chernik. Chernik just tipping it out to center ice. Robinson to Smith. Smith's back in over the line, just dribbles it in. Having trouble handling that puck was Malinkov. It winds up in the corner. Fetisov unable to move forward with that puck. Homutov on the far side now, clears it behind the net. Fetisov as Naslund moves in on him. He unloads it on the far side to Homutov out to center ice for Bukov. Bukov hits the line, but he's checked from behind by Smith. And it's out at center ice once again. Homutov. Homutov back near his own line. Homutov just dumping it off. Chernik. Chernik inside his line and trying to set up now on the attack is Chernik coming through center ice, and he's forced back on the checking of McPhee. Now they'll try again. This time it's Bukov, but he can't hit the line. McPhee gets it. Green On the far side, that is Tremblay shooting it in. Skrudlin moving in after it. The puck is loose in there, but back come the Soviets. Shepelev at center ice now. Shepelev checked by Tremblay, and it's cleared deep into the Canadian zone. Back to get it is Rick Green. Long time we've not had a whistle yet in this game. Out along the boards is McPhee at center ice. McPhee shooting it in. Tremblay going in after it along with Babinov. Now it's McPhee. McPhee backhanding it in there off the shoulder of Malenkov. And back comes big Drozdetsky for the Soviets. Drozdetsky over the line along with Zubin. Zubin is checked up against the boards by Lawler. They jam in there. Drozdetsky unable to control it. Now it's pushed in against the boards. In there doing some tough checking along the boards is Skrudland. Also piling in there is Lawler, and he comes away with the puck. Lawler out to his own blue line to center ice. Lawler hits the line, clears it in deep. From behind his own net now, it is Babinov clearing it to center ice. Lawler shoots it, hit the back of Debois' leg. He clears it to the line, but not in. Now at center ice, Rooney. Rooney unable to control it, but Debois is there, and he backhands it into the Soviet zone once again. Now back deep is Starikov. Out in front, Debois fanned on it. Back come the Soviets. At center ice, carrying the puck is Vasiliev. Vasiliev to the line. There's the shot, and it was a whistler just wide of the net by Ir.Gimaiev. Cleared again to the blue line of the Soviets. Rooney tips it back in, and it's called on the offside. 4 minutes, 37 seconds gone, 3:30.
And they've had some pretty good chances. Let's see if it continues.
From the face-off, it's deep inside the Soviet zone. Carbonneau picks up a loose puck, tried to force it in front, but bottling up the lane in there and preventing it from getting in front was Soviet defenseman Gusarov. Now deep inside the zone, they clear it rink wide. It's off Robinson's stick. Out in front now, they clear it across the goal mouth. Yumanev to Makarov, and Makarov banned on it. He had the open side, just couldn't put his stick on it. Karutov going after it behind the net, but Robinson gave it to Svoboda. Back to Robinson, out at center ice. 2 lines on that. And we'll have a face-off again in the Soviet zone.
Now the Central Red Army team has been in this part of the hockey world now for a week, and this is game number 4. They have a record of 2 wins and a loss, beating LA and Edmonton, losing the other night in Quebec City. Here's that chance. Makarov off the side of the net. Wasn't in the right position, Bob. Went right through his legs.
You know, they usually pass it right on the stick. That time you're right through the skates. But for that, it would have been 1-0. Red Army. Look at that.
Face off once again. Fetisov clearing it in front, and it's deflected wide of the net. Naslund picking it up along the boards, tried to shovel it out near the line. Smith's got it to Dahlin. Dahlin turning, giving it to Smith. Smith just took the check and unloaded the pass into the zone. Naslund hustling after it, but Kazatonov beat him to it. And it's back near the line now, and Green has got it. Green in deep. Canadiens trying to control in there as Dahlin loses to Kazatonov again, and Kazatonov sends it out near the line and to center ice. The Soviets moving through center ice. It's Homotov. Homotov trying to catch a breaking Fetisov. That was poked away, and here comes Naslund now. Naslund over the line. Naslund with Dahlin in front. Dahlin, they drop it back out in front as they couldn't force it through. Defense had the alley block, and it's back out at center ice now. Back in over the line comes Chernik. Chernik in front of the net. Now, here's a shot taken by Fetisov. Back up the Canadiens. The Soviets caught on a change as Naslund over the line with Tremblay. Tremblay gets the pass. Naslund fanned on it. Fetisov picks it up. Rink wide pass. Diving to save that pass was Chernik. It's near the bench, picked up by Lawler now. He clears it to center ice off the stick of Tremblay, and it's cleared back out to center ice by Fetisov. In over the line comes McPhee to Skrudland. Skrudland turning. He's got Ludwig at the point. Ludwig takes the shot. Up against the boards now McPhee. McPhee turning. Tremblay moves into the area. Now Skrudland turning, trying to get it to Tremblay, but it's cleared away by the defense. It's center ice Starikov clearing it down into the Canadian zone. There'll be no icing. Sotard steps out, leaves it for Ludwig, who's under checking pressure from Zubin. Out near the line now, it's cleared out to center ice. Starikov's got it there. Starikov ahead for Zubin. Zubin's check. Moving up is Babinov. Babinov to Drozdetsky. Made a good move at the line, but put himself offside. No score in the game. A New Year's hockey tradition continues from Montreal.
Right away, what's the phrase? End to end? We had that for a while. Not many whistles, Ron.
No, not at all. Swoboda deep in his own zone behind the net for Robinson. Ahead for Walter now. Walter out of center ice and breaking pass down to Deblois. Deblois is tackled as he cuts to the net, and there's going to be a penalty. Canadiens control the puck inside the zone. Walter now on the delayed whistle up against the boards trying to control it. power play for the Soviets is 1 for 11. That's 9.1%, and their penalty killing is 100%. So special teams aren't a big factor with the Soviet club, but now they're facing the best in the business as far as the NHL is concerned anyway. Here's Dahlin, shot right on. Dahlin again, and he hoisted it wide. Naslund in the corner now. Watch this Canadiens power play. It's bounced in front of the net, deflected away from Robinson. He dives for it, keeps it inside the zone, but now the Soviets will come away as Makarov gets it to center ice. He's with Krutov up front. Kazatonov over the line. He's number 6. Krutov, the shot, the glove save is made. Now the Canadiens take over. Svoboda out at center ice now. He comes to the line. Svoboda forcing his way in over the line, but he lost possession to Krutov, and he shoots it back out. Robinson turning. Robinson ahead for Naslund, and again standing up at the blue line was Kazatonov. Now ahead to Makarov. Makarov trying to cut in front of the net now and just drops right back to center ice with it. Feeds it back to the defense. Fetisov. Fetisov now clears it into the Canadian zone, and Svoboda will go back and get it from Sotar. Svoboda for the Canadiens. No score in this game. Canadiens on a power play with 55 seconds left in the power play. Back in over the line come the Soviets now with Homotov taking a shot. It's juggled by Sotart, and he holds on for the faceoff.
Oh, I'll tell you, Bob, the quickness of the Soviets very much in evidence in this penalty-killing situation. After the first bit of pressure by Montreal, they've had none.
Well, Dahlin had the best chance of all, I think. He had a couple on the one move. It came right back to him after his first shot. I thought that one was going in. And then the backhander, and he missed the far side. Look at that. And Robinson was caught on this shift. He was out there a long time, and he was playing offensive also. Now he was right back there, got caught, and Soviets nearly went in for a shorthanded goal.
Rick Green from the face-off behind his own net. Ahead for a breaking Bobby Smith. 40 seconds remaining in the power play advantage for the Canadiens. Smith to the line. Green turns, leaves for Smith. Smith forcing his way in, and then it's hooked away from him, and back out come the Soviets with Bobinov. Shooting it into the Canadian zone. Sotar to leave it for Green. Green behind his net. Leading off on the wing for Bobby Smith, who drops it back for Green. Green forced back on the forechecking of Homotov. Out at center ice, Bobinov can't control it. Homotov comes up with the puck. Homotov working back to the line now. Homotov. He is bumped momentarily by Tremblay, and then Tremblay chases after the puck. He's knocked to the ice from behind by Homotov, and the penalty has expired. The Canadiens were good early, but then had their problems with the penalty killing of the Soviets through the last part of the penalty. Back in over the line, Deblois takes a shot. It's gloved by Malenkov, and with Rooney breaking in on him, he holds for the face-off. No introduced to begin the game. Set for a face-off deep in the Central Red Army zone. Skrudlin taking the draw against Sergei Shepelev from the face-off. Out near the point now. It's just wristed into the corner by Ludwig. And Drozdietsky back deep in his end. Clears it out to center ice now. That's Shepelev. Shepelev knocking it off the boards. Ahead for Zubin. And it winds up on the stick of the Canadiens' Craig Ludwig. Ahead, Skrudlin. Skrudlin crosses center ice and eases it down into the Soviet zone. Back there is Stelnov. Now loses to Lawler at the point now. Takes a shot. It dribbles in there. Lawler reaches for it, but it is knocked out to center ice by Shepelev. Back in over the line now. Drozdietsky. Far side. Soviets start to move it now. At center ice, number 5 is Gusarov. Gusarov over the line now, trying to cut in front. It's knocked off his stick. Veselov against the boards, unable to control it either. Kept in at the line very neatly by I.Gimaев. And Lawler has got it for the Canadiens. Lawler to the blue line to center ice. Now McPhee hops on that loose puck. McPhee got a shot away, but it was deflected partially by Kazatonov, who got his stick in front of it. Smith tried to hustle around Kazatonov, using that reach if he can, but Kazatonov managed to squeeze him out behind the net, and the Soviets are up back. Vasiliev at center ice. Vasiliev hitting the line now, drops it off for Gimaev. His shot is off a leg, and it's Veselov. Veselov put it right on the stick now of Naslund. Naslund hustles to center ice along with Dahlin. Naslund shooting it right on, and it's gloved by Malenkov, and he holds on.
Well, that's Naslund, the second top point getter in the National Hockey League, behind Wayne Gretzky, and he has seen these Soviets, I'm sure, Bob, on several occasions in his European career.
You know, if anybody is going to score from this angle, it's going to be this young man. He had a look to the winger coming in, and decided he'd try for that short side. Now watch him take dead aim. That time a good stop.
Sure, the European Scandinavians in the NHL, Ron, you know it. You talk to the boys and you ask them about the Soviets or the Czechoslovakian teams or whatever. Boy, they're right on top of it. They follow it very closely.
Well, they know them all. They know who the stars are, who to watch for, who's up and coming. As far as Mats is concerned, he's beaten a Soviet team once in his life. Here's Makarov over the line, and he's checked off the puck. Carbonneau tried to ease it into the corner. Robinson covering up on the play, and the Canadiens try to break out quickly as Gainey can't handle that puck. Chases after it. He's squeezed up against the boards by Starikov. Gainey now behind the net for Nyland. Nyland with Karutov on top of him. Robinson just hoisted back into the corner and hit referee Andy Van Helleman on his way in. And now Starikov will try. He gets it to Tyemenev. Tyemenev drops it off for Karutov. The way they circle. Out of center ice now for Babanov. Babanov's to the line. And he is checked off the puck by Svoboda. Now ahead. Good outlet pass by Robinson to Carbonneau to Nyland. The shot right on. The rebound cleared into the corner by Gusarov. Now back near the line. Robinson getting it from Gainey. It's backhanded in now. Trying to turn around and get a shot away was Carbonneau, but he just couldn't handle the pass. And Malenkov steps out of his net and leaves it for Gusarov. He's number 5. Out at center ice. Checked away from Bukov. Back to the line it comes for Homotov. Homotov, good move and the shot, but he's wide with it. It deflected into the corner. Now the Canadiens, there's going to be a penalty called, I believe, on Tom Kervers. And so the Canadiens, for the first time in the game, are going to play shorthanded. No score, live from the Forum. Central Red Army and the Montreal Canadiens.
Call. So the Canadiens shorthanded. There is no score. A very quickly played first 11 minutes and 47 seconds of this one.
Well, out there on the power play, we've got Bukov taking the draw against Carbonneau. Green picks it up and he rattles it off the glass and down into the Soviet zone. The point men for the Soviets, number 5 picking up the puck is Gusarov. They're also using on the point Stelnov. The wink ride pass there for Homotov. Homotov circles with it. The forward line, Homotov, Bukov, and Gerasimov. Now through center ice it comes. Chernik stopped up against the boards on the far side now. Will look for a man as he feeds it out to the point for Gusarov. Gusarov, Homotov out in front now, and unable to control it was Chernik. Winds up in the corner. Bukov just standing there. Bukov, watch that action in front of the net as Bukov tried to force it out there, but Homotov couldn't get free. They roll it in front. Good chance there, Homotov, but he just couldn't get a decent shot away under some checking pressure, but he's got the puck again. Behind the net, and they shoot it right by Bukov to the boards on this side for Chernik. Out to the point now. Here comes the shot. That hit a leg. Still inside the line. Homotov clearing it into the corner now. Chernik leaving it behind the net for Bukov. Bukov clearing it out near the point. Will they keep it in? Yes. Kept in there by Gusarov. Into the corner. Back out now for Chernik. Number 22 circling with it. Back out. Gusarov, here's his fake shot now as he gets to the far side. The shot trips in wide of the net off the stick of Igor Stelnov. Now Chernik again. Chernik getting set. They take their time out to Stelnov. Back to Chernik. Chernik shoots it over top of the net. They still haven't had a shot on goal. At the point now, it's Stelnov. Stelnov winding up. His shot deflects off the stick of Carbonneau and is deflected into the corner. That was passed ahead, it seemed to me, by defenseman Ludwig, but they jam it up against the boards and get the whistle in that fashion as Gusarov moves in, number 5, and 11 seconds remain in the penalty to Tom Kerber.
Oh boy, it's so important that the box is set up and keep them on the outside, and that is exactly what the Canadiens did. And that entire shift, they kept him on the outside. There's one man behind the net all the time trying to get somebody in close to the net. They nearly got a chance, but that's all, nearly. And they can hang on now, the Canadiens, for another 10 seconds. They'll be away and running.
The Canadiens wearing their red uniforms. Those uniforms were packed and ready for the Canadiens trip, which is going to take place right after this game tonight to Toronto. They have a road trip for the rest of this week. Today, there were 3 or 4 sweaters stolen out of the Soviet locker room here at the Montreal Forum. So they had to change their whites, and the Canadiens had to unpack their reds and wear them.
So we don't get much help, do we, Dick? Looking down at those names on the back, they're in the Cyrillic.
There's one with no names, number 22.
Chernik. All right, here we go once again as Zubin brings it out to center ice. Penalty is over the line for the Soviets comes Shepelev. There's the shot. Big shot taken by Rozhetsky. Now Tremblay inside the zone. Shepelev. Ace checked by Robinson. Ahead for McPhee. McPhee's at center ice. Shooting it in. Tremblay after it. He goes in against Fetisov. Fetisov takes him out of the play. Puck winds up in the corner as Skrudlin's in there along with Tremblay and Shepelev. And it is held for a face-off. 5:50 left in the first period.
Sotart with the initial save and the rebound bounced high.
The guy who wore that with a great deal of honor for the Soviet Union's now an assistant coach with this team,
right.
Boris Mikhailov. Had all kinds of Soviet League records before his retirement a couple of years ago.
The team captain, was he not? For
Yep,
2 years.
right.
He was team captain in the Challenge Cup Series in '79.
Back come the Soviets here with Zubin to the line, but it's checked away and out to center ice once again. Fetisov getting it to Kasatonov. Kasatonov ahead, and it's over the stick of Zubin. And there'll be icing here as Svoboda goes back to touch it. Face-off down in the Central Red Army zone.
Now there's Petr Svoboda, who is playing against Soviet opposition for the first time as a professional. But played against Soviet opposition during his junior career in Czechoslovakia. You know, in 1975, I just heard it and seen it written that it was the Stanley Cup champion Montreal Canadiens. They weren't the Stanley Cup champions. They were about to be, but the Philadelphia Flyers were at that time. And about 4 or 5 days later, Bob, you and I were at the Spectrum in Philadelphia when the Soviets walked off the ice for 18 minutes.
Because they didn't. Home?
They thought Bob Meyer should have called it. Who was the referee?
Oh, that was Gilmore.
Lloyd Gilmore. Should have called a penalty on Ed Van Impe. And you said they're going home.
On Harlamov, who got leveled. Back in over the line now. Here's Vasiliev. Vasiliev trying to clear it in front of the net. Veselov now turning up against the boards now. That quickness. But his best way to handle that is do what Larry Robinson just did to him. Finish the check. Now in the corners, Svoboda. Svoboda turning, feeding it back to Robinson. Robinson, Svoboda. Svoboda gives it back to Robinson again. Robinson fighting off the forechecking there, and the man who went down finally was Vasiliev. Now here's Dahlin. Dahlin with Naslund and Skrudlin as the line right now. Pass was behind Naslund. And Ludwig's got it. They'll finish the change now as the puck is backhanded by Ludwig down into the Soviet zone. Babinov coming out with it. Babinov forced back by the forechecking of Carbonneau. Rink wide, Starikov. Starikov turning against Carbonneau, and he'll start out now to the blue line at center ice. Homotov. Varnikov now to the line, and going to his knees was Makarov. And it is Ludwig. Hoisted into the corner. Krutov. Krutov turning. Krutov dropping it off now for Makarov. Makarov turning and getting on the backhand, then try to wheel to his forehand. Tyumenev shoots it wide. Gusarov way up. There's a quick shot taken by Tyumenev. And Krutov at the rebound was unable to control it. Now Nyland trying to get out of his zone. At the point. Knocking it back in underneath Nyland was Gusarov, but it's cleared out to center ice as Nyland just shoveled it out there with his gloved hand. Tyumenev dropping it back to the defense for Gusarov. There's a pass by Babinov. Krutov trying to handle it, gets it in front, shot, scores, Makarov! Great three-way play.
I don't think he really got the kind of a shot away he wanted, but it was good enough as it went end over end up into the top of the net, just under the crossbar. The Army leads 1-0.
The Soviets have turned this thing around. The Canadiens started the game forechecking and closing off the center ice area. On this occasion, they were allowed to come through the middle, and they'll find somebody open. Sotart was in there with a dizzy head after the power play, watching the passes around him. He couldn't move on this one. 1-0 Soviets.
That pressure came against the Canadiens' best defensive forward line of Gainey, Carbonneau, and Nyland.
Well, Makarov will get the credit for the goal. Krutov was number 9. That's a great line for the Soviets. Tyumenev will be in the middle of that play. Puck is cleared down in over the line now, and Kasatonov is back there. Rooney intercepts a pass. Rooney clearing it in front, and is knocked away by Malinkov, the goaltender. Out come the Soviets again. It's cleared rink wide. Chernik has to circle back in his own zone now. Trying to get away from Deblois. Fetisov, number 2. Kasatonov. At center ice, Bukov, he didn't get loose. Now it's Kasatonov again. Homotov, number 15. Chernik over the line now. Chernik cutting in front of the net, and it's knocked off his stick by Rick Green, and Curvers has got it. He clears it out to center ice, and it's Fetisov once again. Fetisov timing that pass beautifully as he gives it into Chernik. Now to Bukov. Trying to get it in front. Kazatonov couldn't reach that one, and Green has got it behind his own net. Homotov forechecking as he unloads it to Kerbers. Kerbers at center ice, knocked down by Fetisov. He's back inside his own zone, and Fetisov ahead towards Rostetsky. Big shot here, there it is, and he just missed the top corner with it. Now Green, McPhee. McPhee, number 35 for the Canadiens, to Skrudland. Skrudland, Tremblay just relayed it into the Soviet zone. Babanov leaving it off. It is Zubin. Zubin through center ice. Zubin trying to get set, and he was knocked off his pins there by Kerbers. Around the net it goes. They clear it out in front, but he threw it to the backhand of Starikov. Canadiens unable to get loose, and it's still inside the blue line. Soviets really buzzing around here as it's cleared ahead for Shepelev. Up against the boards now, turning with it against the checking is Zubin, and finally Skrudland pins him in there. Coming in to help out is Shepelev. Shepelev, number 27, checked by Skrudland and Tremblay. Tremblay digging it loose, and he gets it to McPhee, and he gets it out to center ice. Babinov ahead for Drozhetsky. Drozhetsky up against the boards now. Gets it to the point. It's shot wide of the net by Gimaev, and it's Green hooking it out of the netting behind the Canadiens' goal. In the corner, Veselov is the forechecker. Batted away by Skrudland. Skrudland firing it off the boards, but they can't get it out. Gusarov there, clearing it into the corner once again. Veselov behind the net. Vasiliev, he's checked. Green with 1:06 remaining in the period. Canadiens trailing in this game 1-0. It's finally pumped up to center ice. Gusarov getting it. He gets a return pass. Now at center ice, tried to hit a moving Vasiliev. 18 is Ğimaev. He can't control it. Gusarov will try again. Gusarov backhanding it into the Canadian zone. Green is in there. Also in there is Veselov. And it's Ryan Walter. Walter ahead. Naslund swinging back with it now. Naslund working his way to the blue line to center ice, and he couldn't hold on to that puck against the checking of Makarov. Now it's cleared off the boards and down the ice with 22 seconds remaining. Icing will be called, and we'll get a face-off. Live from the Forum, the Central Red Army and the Montreal Canadiens.
Goal coming late in the period. Makarov finishing off a beautiful three-way passing play. The time of the goal was 16:20. The shots on goal favored Montreal 6-5, but certainly the territorial play, Bob Cole, through the latter part of the period in particular, favored the Soviets.
No question about it. The shots do not tell us what happened in that first period. You're looking at the Soviets taking over that center ice area again. The puck was tipped through near center ice at the blue line, and then of course they'll spot somebody free, and here's Makarov wide open. Doug Sotart, who had made several good glove saves in that first period, didn't have a chance to move on that one, Dick. He was just too far hugging the post, and he was in the right spot. The man was just wide open. Makarov made no mistake. And I don't like the way that second half of that first period developed. The Canadiens played pretty well, Ron. In the first 10 minutes, they did some hitting, and they shut the Russians down, the Soviets down through center ice. But then they were, I think the power play took some pizzazz away from Montreal, and they got mesmerized. And then they were running around in their own zone.
I think that the intermission, they heard quite a bit from Jean Perron, who's had a lot to do with Soviet teams. He was an assistant coach with our Olympic team, and over the years, working as an assistant under Dave King, learned how to play the Soviet clubs, and he played the Army, and he's played their national team a number of times. I would think that there are going to be some adjustments made.
Well, there's quite a history developing in the hockey between Canada and the Soviet Union. The first time a team from Canada played a Soviet team was in 1954 at the World Championships in Stockholm. It was the first appearance by the Soviets in the World Championships anywhere, I guess, Ron, as far as the rest of the world was concerned. And they beat a team called the Toronto East York Lyndhurst 7-2. Then next year in Krefeld, Germany, the Penticton V's, led by the Warwicks, Bill, Dick, and Grant, defeated the Soviets 5-0. The Canadian goalie that got the shutout was Ivan McLeod. The backup goalie on that team was Don Moog, father of Andy, who was playing against this team last Friday night in Edmonton.
Well, play is underway here in the second period. Soviets leading 1-0. Makarov in his own zone, feeds it ahead. That pass for Gusarov intercepted by Carbonneau. He feeds it right back into the Soviet zone again. Gainey's behind the net, tried to force it out in front. Carbonneau against the boards, but he is checked off the puck. Good move there by Gusarov. Makarov then unable to get loose. Backhands it into the Canadian zone. Swoboda then gets it right back out to center ice. Swinging through center ice, ЮMoney. ЮMoney to Krutov. Krutov along with Makarov on the far boards. Krutov is hooked from behind by Gainey. No penalty on the play. A little fortunate on that. Back inside the line now. It is Gusarov. Gusarov with Nyland moving in on him. Nyland takes him off the puck, but right there to pick up the loose puck is still nope. And the Soviets come right back out. Makarov, he's a tremendous skater. Over the line with Homotov. And he feeds to the far boards. Homotov is unable to pick it up as Naslin's got it against the far boards to Swoboda. Swoboda finds Carbonneau at center ice as he catches up to it. Carbonneau battling his way is knocked to the ice as Kazatonov came back to make the check. At center ice now, Gerasimov. Homotov unable to get loose, but that's Bukov. Bukov checked from behind by Naslin. Drops to Robinson. Robinson behind his own net. Fires it off the boards. It's loose in there, and Swoboda finally takes over as Bukov tried to go to the net with the puck. Robinson. Robinson with Homotov right on top of him. Clears in front. Fired right out to the line. Naslin unable to get loose, but it's outside the blue line now. And taken by Bukov. Bukov back inside his own zone. The Soviets regrouping. Coming out of his end is Gerasimov. He's checked by Naslin. Naslin moving in with that puck. Squeezes by on the boards as Kazatonov tried to take him out. Now Naslin getting it from Dahlin. Hits the netting with it. Fetisov ahead. Gerasimov swinging inside his own zone to Fetisov. Out to Kazatonov at center ice. Kazatonov hitting Gerasimov. Drops it back right through the legs of Kazatonov. Back from the Canadiens on a 3-on-2. Naslin checked as Fetisov came across and knocked it away from him. Puck is cleared behind the net. Kazatonov has got it for the Soviets. Kazatonov leaving it off to Rozdzetsky. Number 13 at center ice. He loves to carry the puck as he clears it in over the line. Rozdzetsky going to his backhand in front of the net, and he's tied up from behind by Kerbers. Comes out. Near the blue line now. It is tipped out to center ice by Skrudlin. And back with it is Starikov. Starikov to Babinov. There it is. Kerbers after it against the far board. Skrudlin's got it there as well. Clears it up along the boards for McPhee to Trombley at center ice. Trombley going one-on-one against Babinov. Stopped inside the line. Now takes a shot, but he hit the leg of Starikov and is back out to center ice. Green off the board. Starikov fires it straight out of his own zone and then is cleared back in offside and will get a face-off. 4:02 gone in the period. 1-0. The Soviets live from the Forum. Championship involving both Gimaev and Fetisov. And poor Jimmy Johnson of the Pittsburgh Penguins who got leveled in all of that in a big fight. Stelnov coming out of his own zone now. Stelnov forced back by the checking of Walter. Now rink wide. On the far side it is Gusarov. A backhand pass through center ice. It's Vasiliev taking a shot. That's deflected by goaltender Doug Sotart. Now they try to bring it out in front again, and it is right at the line. Down on his knees is Sotart, and the puck was between his pads, so that gets a hand for the fans here at the Forum.
You two chaps have broadcast more of these international type games than I have. Wasn't there a time when people say, look at the Soviets, they don't resort to the big slap shot, they use the wrist shot. I've seen a few like this one here tonight.
Well, they'll use it now.
Oh.
You won't see many better slap shots anywhere than Big Rozdzetsky's got. Look at this. Pretty close, Bob.
I'll tell you, that's 2 or 3 times that Sotart has saved a goal. He was allowed to walk out in front that time, and Doug Sotart went down in time, and he hung on. Still 1-0.
Robinson checked from behind as he tried to bring it through center ice. Varnakov bringing it back into Krutov. Krutov checked off the puck, and Swoboda. Swoboda at center ice. Kazatonov will knock it down. To ЮMoney, back inside the zone. Fetisov, rink wide. Makarov ahead for ЮMoney. ЮMoney gets the return pass from Krutov. Krutov can't reach that pass. It's deflected away from him by Nyland. Now Krutov in deep now. ЮMoney. ЮMoney trying to find Kazatonov out in front, and Kazatonov was checked away, and the puck winds up at center ice. They'll shoot their defensemen a lot more than they used to too. Here's ЮMoney, and he takes an elbow from Swoboda up against the board. And he got away with that one as the puck is cleared back in over the line. Back at center ice now. Carbonneau to the line. Ducks away from a check. And a check by Fetisov, and it was Fetisov who wound up with the puck. Out to Krutov. Krutov to Makarov. Makarov set. His shot is knocked away as it was deflected. Now comes in front of the net. Taken by Robinson. Robinson He's checked by Kurutov. Puck lost behind the net. Now Robinson picks it up, clears it along the boards. Moving in is Kasatonov. Kasatonov gets the puck in front of the net for Bukov, but it's taken away by Robinson. Robinson. Kerber shooting it out to center ice, knocked down by Makarov. He heads for the bench. And it's Fetisov. Fans thought there were too many men on the ice. Fetisov at center ice. Fetisov trying to backhand the puck right to the Canadiens bench area where it's dug out by Naslund. He clears it back to the Soviet defense. And Starikov moving it ahead to center ice. It's cleared in over the line by Gerasimov. Now Homotov getting it for Bukov. Bukov trying to work it out in front now, and he can't. Here's a big shot wide of the net, taken by Starikov. Now they try to get it out in front of the net again. Bukov up against the boards. Again, setting up is Starikov. His shot wide of the net. Naslund chops it out to center ice, and back to get it will be Bukov. Bukov, Babinov clears it in over the line. Back in there is Lawler. Lawler circling away from the checking and bringing it to center ice now. Lawler shooting it in. After it is Bobby Smith in deep. He clears it in front of the net. Went right by Dahlin. Dahlin's got it against the board. Dahlin in deep. They try to set it up now for Dahlin. It's loose in front of the net. Smith fighting off a check. Smith goes up against the boards. The puck is pinned in there. Smith trying to dig it loose. Also in there is Dahlin, but the puck winds up on the stick of Homotov. Homotov shooting at the center ice. Gerasimov can't get past Smith. Smith comes right back again. Clears it in. Babinov back to get it. Leaves it there. And the Soviets with Rozhetsky at center ice. Shepelev giving it to the wing. There's the hard shot. That one taken by Zubin. It's loose in front. Down goes Sotard, and he covers up and holds on for the face-off. Oh, he does it. The puck popped free. Lawler behind his own net. Ludwig. Lawler again. Lawler swinging away from the check there of Rozhetsky. It's out at center ice. Checking a little close right now as the puck comes back to Tremblay. Tremblay, Ludwig, Lawler. Lawler at center ice. It's knocked down at the Soviet blue line by Stelnov. And it's fired right back into the Canadian zone. Up against the boards, McPhee, and it's pinned in there and held for a whistle. 7-11 gone here in the second period. 1-0.
Kubota, pretty good elbow, and like Ron mentioned at the time, Canadiens lucky perhaps that a penalty wasn't called.
So all they need now is a power play, the way the Soviets are putting it together again.
On the face-off, Robinson can't hold it in at the point. Comes out through center ice, but it's knocked away from Vasiliev and back out. I.Gimаев now, he's checked up against the boards. Turning with it is Vasiliev. Back inside the blue line, Gusarov. Now I.Gimаев, number 18, up against the boards, and he fires it in. Sotard leaving it for Svoboda. Svoboda, Robinson. Robinson ahead for Tremblay. Tremblay, rink wide, Svoboda's got it there. He backhands it to the line, and back comes Gusarov. Turns, fires it through center ice now, in over the line. Here's Veselov, they shoot, they score! Veselov, number 11. And the Soviets have taken a 2-0 lead.
Canadiens got caught with only Larry Robinson back, and they played it perfectly. Nobody there to clear the rebound. Robinson losing his balance. As you see it there, they cut the Canadiens defenseman up front on the turn, Svoboda. And Robinson went down to try to block the shot. Bob, the rebound was just left there.
Well, again, Sotard left alone because Gimaev was in on the play. It was almost a 2-on-1, really. And Veselov was allowed to take his own rebound.
So it's 2-0. The Canadiens haven't had a shot on goal in this period. They haven't come close to getting a shot on goal in this period.
Shots on goal in the period are 5-0. Clear in over the line now. Fetisov back there with Nyland on top of him. Fetisov gets the return pass now. Varnakov at center ice for Makarov. Kurutov backhanding, and he hit Nyland with it. Gainey at his own line, ducks away from Kurutov's check. Gainey's got it at center ice and shoots it in. Fetisov back to get it. He fires it out to center ice now. Here's a one-on-one. Tiemonev going up against Kervers, and he forces him back. Now in for Kurutov. Kurutov in front, and hit the side of the net. Makarov was there. Kurutov now out in front. Tiemonev, the shot. Glove save made by Sotard. Now here's Kurutov turning, shooting, and it's deflected up over top of the net off Green's stick. Makarov in the corner. And it's fired off the glass and down the ice. There'll be icing here as Fetisov goes back to get it. And as he touches it, Canadiens will take a breather. They're under fire here as we near the midway part of the second period. 2-0. The Soviets leading live from the Forum, Central Red Army and the Montreal Canadiens.
I hate to lose. I've always hated to lose. So when I found out how much money I was spending on throwaway batteries, I got a Dynacharge system. You don't throw Dynacharge batteries away. You recharge them over and over again. They're guaranteed for 5 years. And they come in every size and shape.
The Dynacharge system, the only batteries you'll need for the next 5 years.
Because I hate to lose.
We have a rookie and a veteran behind the benches. Ron, a big difference in this game right here, how easily the Soviets are coming out of their own zone. The Canadiens having all kinds of trouble.
And at center ice now, it is Babinov. Babinov being checked by Deblois. And turning with it is Homotov. Homotov had it checked away from him. And it's Bukov shooting it in. It is gloved by Sotart. Leaves it for Ludwig and clears it along the boards. Walter gets it to the line, but not out, and it's shot right back in again. What a checking of the Soviets intense. Back out at center ice, it comes for Starikov. Starikov ahead, and that pass was too far ahead of Homotov to reach. And back to get it is Lawler. Deblois, Walter. Center ice is checked away from him. Back they come again. Here's Bukov taking a shot. That deflects up into the crowd. We'll get another face-off.
You know, there's a saying in football, a quarterback will go back and they'll say he can't see anybody to pass it to. The Canadiens are in exactly that position when they get the puck deep in their own zone. They take a look. The Soviets are just covering everybody so well. All they can do is play it up the boards or be intercepted, really. And it's the big part of this game right now. Inside the Montreal blue line, how well the Soviets are handling the situation.
What the Canadiens need desperately is a break here, I think. Better frame of mind. They're being beaten to the puck constantly here. Swoboda back in his own zone now. Swoboda straight ahead at center ice. It's Dahlin to Naslund. Knocked it out of midair. Kicks it in over the line. Trailing on the play is Bobby Smith. Dahlin gets it. Gives it to Naslund. Now Naslund to Smith. Smith getting set. Shoots it right on, but on a bad angle. Smith out in front again. It's loose there. Naslund reaching for it. He's knocked to the ice, and the puck is cleared ahead. Rozjetsky now for Shepelev over the line. Getting set in the slot, and they couldn't get it. A shot away, a clean shot by Stelnov. Back come the Canadiens now. Naslund along with Dahlin and Smith. Naslund, Dahlin, and he found on it. Now here's Robinson. Robinson in front, and it's Naslund who deflected it towards the goaltender. And Malinkov covers up and holds for a face-off. It's 2-0. The Central Red Army leading the Montreal Canadiens.
Thanks, Ron, and you've given it to me on a high note. The Canadiens have come to life here at this point in the second period. And they're doing some more bumping now, and the crowd loves that. Here's McPhee for Canadiens, playing it to the left side, and it's dumped into the zone by Curvers. Soviets had to go back, and they're taking a little more punishment inside their own blue line now. That's what the Canadiens have to do if they want to get back into this hockey game. They're trailing 2-0. In on the play, Fedosov, he tried to go in, and he was bumped off the puck. Strudlin for Montreal. He saw Tremblay and gave it to him. It's rolled in. McPhee cutting for the net. Slides one to the side of the goal. It bounced in front. And the Soviet Red Army can't get out of the zone on this try. McPhee is knocked to the ice. The crowd would love a penalty. But the play continues. Still 2-0 Soviet Red Army. And they're in again. Vasiliev took a shot. And that was blocked. Vasiliev again grabbed the puck to the side of the net. The Canadiens scampering back, trying to cover up. It comes in the slot area. Players falling everywhere. I.Gimаев went to the ice, and the play came back to center ice. Veselov back in for Red Army. They were making changes. It comes back for Gainey. Gainey in there with Nyland, and the hard shot was blocked by Malinkov. Into the corner, the Soviets now bewildered a bit, wondering what has happened, because they seemed as if they had taken over this hockey game, but they're coming in again. In on the wing, Makarov, and he's always dangerous. Tumanev up on the play, and taking over for Montreal is Svoboda. He left it for Robinson. Robinson's pass to the line, Carbonneau coming in for Montreal. Dropped a pass back. Gainey failed to hang on to it. Robinson fighting hard to keep it in. Canadiens with the pressure on again. Malinkov went down and he held on to it. But the Habs are back in it. Live from the Forum, Central Red Army. On the face-off, the Canadiens on the draw. There's Rooney knocking that high pass down. He centered it. Milenkov knocked it away with a stick. Soviets just content now to shoot it out of the zone. Ludwig played it back to the middle. And it's grabbed by Deblois, and he's dancing in there. Deblois centered it. Walter couldn't reach it in time, but he has it on the boards. A backhand shot! The big save of the game for Milenkov. To this point, he had to kick out that right skate fast to make the stop. And listen to the crowd get behind the Canadiens now. They're trailing 2-0. Down on the far side. Yerasimov didn't get anywhere. Holmatov is stopped. Yerasimov again got in front of the net, but there's no pass yet. Bukov now trying to work in. He's bumped off the puck in the Canadian zone. Canadians will clear it out to the line. I went behind Walter, and the Canadians are making changes with 6:45 to play. Second period, still 2-0. Red Army. There's Dahlin. There's Naslund. Naslund now picking up some speed. He has to circle back. Gives it to Green. Green backs all the way into his own zone. He's been forechecked on the play by Zubin. Long pass. It'll go to the netminder. Just crossed the goal area, so no icing. Just hit the corner of the goal crease. Now the Soviets allowed to move out fast again. Shepelev down the right wing boards. He centered it. Dahlin had a stick in the way and made a nice play to bring it back out. There's Naslund now dumping it in. It bounced in front of the Soviet net. On the left side, Zubin starts back and he'll skate to the middle. And he's spoiled right there by Dahlin. So they'll go back and try it again. They dearly want to take over the center ice area as they move the puck away. Watch this. Through the middle again. A pass by Fetisov to the far side. It's in over the line and the Canadiens break it up. Here they come. McPhee tried to knock it in. It got a little too far ahead of him, and he couldn't make the play he wanted to. 5.5 minutes left in the period. Here's the shot that's wide as Curvers let her fly. It bounced by Green. He comes back. No icing, so Sotard out of the net. He's getting a bit of a breather now at this point in the second period. 5:20 to play in the period. 2-0 Soviet Red Army. Here come the Canadiens. McPhee! Rebound! And it's knocked away. McPhee came close. He waited long enough and tried for the short side and just missed getting the Canadiens' first goal. Back for Babanov. Babanov played it ahead on the wing. Krutov. This big line on the ice again. Krutov flying in there. He went to the corner. Now he's bumped in there by Svoboda. But back of the net, they dig it out. And again, the Canadiens rough it up in their own zone. Soviets trying to set it up from the side. It goes to Krutov. Out to the line. Another pass back to the blue line. The screen shot hit a leg. And Starikov put a weak shot in there. Now the Canadiens shoot it down the ice. And it'll be icing against Montreal. A New Year's hockey tradition continues from Montreal.
They're coming off the bench. Their changes are crisper. The tempo, the pressure they're putting on the Soviets now didn't exist through the first 30 minutes of this game. It's a changed hockey game.
Canadiens control on the draw. Let Krutov grab the puck. Gave it to Makarov. Scores!
Well, there's a rookie mistake. Mike Lawler totally mesmerized by the Soviet forechecking. And what a downer that is for the Canadiens and the crowd coming as it did and at the time that it did. Look at this.
Krutov in there forechecking, and there's Makarov just all alone in front. One of the best shooters in hockey anywhere in the world. A 5-time Soviet scoring champion, and he didn't make a mistake there at all. On the backhand as he put it past Sotard. And it's 3-0. Canadiens had it going, but when you're trying to come from behind, things like that tend to happen.
Very bad goal against the Canadiens. 2-0 to 3-0, and the way the Soviet team can control the puck. I don't know, 3 goals, but the Canadiens, as you point out, Ron, did have something going. They need a goal here badly. Fetisov coming from his own zone to the far side. He'll have to take over it again and swing back with it. Kazatonov, the other defenseman, with him. He might go back to him. No, he doesn't. He comes up to the line. Olmatov didn't get far in the first rush. Yerasimov played it to the far side. It's knocked away by Dahlin. He looked pretty cool grabbing the puck and feeding it up on the wing. Bobby Smith was hit by Fetisov, and the Soviets come back in again. Fetisov is in the slot. The pass doesn't get to him, as Homachov was taken in on the boards. Now the Canadiens. Naslund to center. He'll have to shoot it in. Naslund was covered there, and Bobby Smith went in there first. Fetisov is all over him. Naslund from the corner, looking for help. Threw it in behind the net. Bobby Smith was tied up. Now he gets loose. He got away from Gerasimov and left it there. Red Army again. Meticulous with the passes. Played it back on this side. Kazatonov gets it again. Took a backhander, and that was away wide of the net. Zubin on it quickly off the board. Zubin, a pass and behind his back, and the Canadiens pick it up. Deblois got as far as center, and then gave it away right there. Soviets just back up in their own zone. We have 2:40 to play in the second period. It's 3-0. Red Army leading. Canadiens started the second period afire, but they've been silent. Soviets are in there again. A high shot is wide of the net. Zubin has the rebound in the corner. He is bumped. Rozgetsky picked it up and tried to clear it back to the blue line. That was broken up. It's fired in by Babanov again. Soviets have to come back. They'll kill a few more seconds with 2:10 left in the period. And they're up 3 goals. Canadiens, Walter intercepted a pass. Couldn't do much with it though. Starikov is back in his own zone. Winds up. Canadiens were making changes as the Soviets get as far as center ice. I.Gimаев trying to roll it in. He is stopped by Mario Tremblay. Robinson now in front of the net. Starts up. 1:45 left. A penalty coming up on the play to the Soviets. So tired is on the bench. Carbonneau's in. A high shot is wide of the net. Canadiens still in possession. Carbonneau left it there at center. Now the whistle will go. And there's a penalty coming up against Red Army. Live from the Forum, Central Red Army and the Montreal Canadiens.
Well, some consternation perhaps behind the bench of the Soviet Central Red Army team. Too many men on the ice is the call. Ron, you mentioned earlier in this period the crowd reacted to a situation they felt was exactly the same thing. No call was made. That time they got caught, so they will play shorthanded. I noticed Rocket Richard in the audience here tonight. The Rocket and other NHL superstars of his era never got the chance to play against European opposition.
This era, the Soviets would not have supplied any opposition.
Canadiens now on a power play. They've been shut out so far. Robinson shoots it. It's kicked away by Milenkov. At the blue line, Robinson keeping it in, dumped it toward the net. Soviets take over. That's Stelnov shooting it out and down the ice. Only 1 minute and 12 seconds left to play in this second period. And the Canadiens on a power play. Matt Naslund dropped it back in front of his own net, and Curvers carries to center and gets to the Walters. 1 minute left in the period. Stalin going in. He's tied up. Robinson couldn't get a shot. He fell down. And the Soviets will clear it out of the zone. Only 50 seconds to play. They'll run out the clock if they can. And back is Curvers.
Chris Chelios, who normally plays the point on the Montreal power plays, is injured, not in uniform tonight. He'll be out for quite a while yet, apparently, with a knee injury.
Svoboda, 4 Soviets lined up across the blue line. Now they spread out and try to set up the box, but it's hooked over the glass into the crowd with 31 seconds to play.
Watch, as you look at Peter Svoboda, you watch the Soviets and their penalty killing, how much they chase. They don't set up in the traditional box that we're used to. They'll go off after the man, especially in the other zone where, of course, there is no box, but they're not afraid to go behind the net and chase somebody, as you saw Karutov do. And it tends to upset any kind of style that you want to do, getting out of your zone. And they kind of break some rules. It's a little different on the larger ice surfaces and so on, but still, it's Canadiens' power play has not really looked like the Canadiens' power play we've seen through the regular season in this game.
31 seconds left in the period, and the Canadiens will have to come back to start it again. And they will not get much more than maybe one more rush at it with the extra man. Bobby Smith's pass nearly picked off. Naslund goes into the zone, got away from Fetisov's check, and the Soviets again shoot it down the ice. Only 10 seconds remaining in the period, so this should do it. This clearing by the Red Army. Back to center ice. there for Deblois. And there's the siren ending the second period, which started on a bright note for the Canadiens, but then that third Soviet goal, and it's 3-0.
Well, the Canadiens came back, Ron, to even the shots at 9-9 after they were down 4-0 at one point in the period. But you have to look to that third Soviet goal as the downer, because the team was starting to get going and the crowd certainly was behind them at that point.
I heard a statement about the worst lead in hockey being a 2-0 lead. 3-0 lead, that's a good one. That's a tough one to overcome. A very, very difficult chore facing the Canadiens in the third period.
Total shots on goal through 2 periods, Montreal 15-14. But the score at the end of the second period, the Central Red Army 3 on the Montreal Canadiens with 1 period left to play. In the second period, Vasiliev with Makarov with his second of the game. That one dampening the Canadian spirits. Montreal was in trouble, it seemed, but came back toward the midway mark of the second period, and the fans had come to life, but the Soviets' third goal made it 3-0, and it's a big difference. This, Ron, is the second goal.
And this one is Veselov. It took his own rebound and just popped it in after Sotard went down on a 2-on-1 break. That made it 2-0 at 7:50, and then the giveaway deep inside the zone. Krutov, number 9, in forechecking on Lawler, and the puck just winds up on the stick of one of the best shooters in the game, Sergei Makarov, and he put it in, his third goal of the tour and his second goal of the game. So it's 3-0 now as we go into the third period.
And 27 seconds left in the penalty to the Soviet Red Army. Vasiliev is in the penalty box. The Canadiens unable to score so far. Move it up to the Soviet zone as Bobby Smith goes in there. Smith trying to roll it back to the line. It's knocked down to the Canadian zone. And Robinson is back, being watched by Gerasimov. Canadiens move it up though. Dahlin couldn't catch up to it, and there you see the Soviet player back on the ice. The penalty is over. 3-0. Red Army leading the Canadiens. Montreal moving up. Right wing pass knocked into the zone by Naslin. Picking it up, Makarov. It's rolled in front of the net. Krutov left it there, out through center. Vasiliev moving up. Vasiliev trying to do it himself, is in the corner against Big Robinson. Robinson fighting for it. Hooked it with a skate. It's still loose. The play continues, and Bobby Smith. He saw Svoboda. His pass is knocked down at the line. Naslin picked it up and was slow moving. Svoboda turning around with it. Left it for Larry Robinson. Back to Svoboda coming in. And Gainey was offside, and it's called.
I'm afraid I have to add a sad note to our broadcast this evening with word from the United States of the death of Mr. Bruce Norris, longtime owner of the Detroit Red Wings, who passed away today. In our interview with Senator Hartland Molson in the second intermission, he mentioned the Norris family as among the pioneers of the game in the modern era. So Bruce Norris, longtime owner of the Detroit Red Wings, passed away today.
Bukov got the draw for Red Army and fired it up across the Canadian line. Soviets still leading 3-0. We're in the third period, a minute and a half gone. And they're on the attack again. That's Krutov. Moving around with it, played it back. Gusarov put a shot in, and Sotart made the save. It's cleared up along the boards and over the boards at the Soviet bench, and the play is stopped again.
Well, the man behind all of this in many ways, Alan Eagleson, looking on tonight. Come on, guys, he says. I can remember Alan in that 75-game run when Steve Shutt scored a goal. He came down from that same position and grabbed Shutty around the collar and hugged him. The emotion was there. I'll tell you another night there was emotion in this building, a Soviet game, when the junior Canadiens played them. In 1965, Jacques Plante was retired then, came out of retirement, played goal, and was terrific. And the Canadiens won the game by a goal. I think Scotty Bowman coached the juniors then.
That's Lawler's pass, grabbed near center by Ryan Walter. Rooney is on the ice for the Canadiens, along with Deblois. The Soviets carrying it. Ryan Walter took his man in on the boards rather heavily. But they carry on. Shepelev going in there, stopping in the corner. Shepelev gets it back near the line. It's centered in front. Sotard had to be careful on the short side. He made the save, and again it's into the crowd. Live from the Forum, Central Red Army and the Montreal Canadiens. Out there to the right on the rim of the circle. Canadiens winning the draw but losing possession very quickly and getting it back again. Deblois skates to center. just shovels it into the zone for Darlene, going in against Babinov. Around the net, Starikov. He is stopped on the boards as the Canadiens kept that forechecking going again. Rooney bumping in there with Babinov. Now on the right side, Rozdietsky got it up to center ice. He made a move at the center ice red line and set up the defenseman Babinov going in along the boards. An easy save. The rebound is set up, and the Canadiens are slow in clearing it out of the zone. Rozdietsky got it back. Babinov left it to the side of the net. Soviets on the attack again, looking to spring a man open. They can't find one this time. It's off his stick and back to the Red Army line. Pass ahead. That's I.Gimaев trying to go in. Takes a shot, scores! Went through the legs of Sotard. A hard shot, but Sotard was fooled and it dribbled over the line.
Well, the utility man strikes here, Dick, as I.Gimaев just kind of circled around and then just blasted it as he came off the boards with it. And it appeared Sotard had it covered, and it dribbled between his pads and over the goal line, and it's 4-0 now. And Soviet Union teams have outscored the Canadiens 9-0 over the last 2 games here. The Soviet national team was the last team in here, but Р.Гимаев, who is a forward sometimes, a defenseman other times.
So the Canadiens now trailing by 4. And they've yet to play up to 4 minutes in the third period. They're back in there. Veselov set it up. Once again, it's centered. Sotard is out of the net, scrambling to get back in. And Fedusov nearly found the opening, but back for Tremblay. He's going in on Kasatonov. Got it back in front of the net, and Fedusov got back there. Tremblay trying to knock it loose. McPhee was in there. Couldn't get near the puck, though. Now they've hit the 4-minute mark of the third period, and it's 4-0. Red Army are in on the attack again. Circling up the line was Vasiliev, and they're offside. A New Year's hockey tradition continues from Montreal. Canadiens, though, win the draw, and Bobby Smith with Naslund up on the play, dumped it in. Milenkov, not too busy a goaltender so far in this third period. Actually in the game, but he's hardly had anything to do except watch the puck like this in back of the net. The Canadiens have been unable to get anything going inside the blue line at all. They're checked very well. Coming out of the zone, Gerasimov played off on the left side. Bukov going to the corner, centered it. A good save by Sotard on that quick shot to the man in the slot. It was set up perfectly. Gerasimov played it through the middle again. Naslund stopped that one. Naslund is covered by Gerasimov. He has to go back. Smith got to the line. Canadiens go in there. Darlene breaks for the net. Oh, nice save by Milenkov as Darlene. Very accurate with his shooting. He went for the low right-hand corner. Bukov up there. He tries his shot. Score! You can almost tell he was going to wait and then let her go. And Sotard looked very, very shaky.
Well, a night that started on a high note with the Canadiens receiving a standing ovation now has the fans on their backs as it's 5-0.
Well, Bukov appeared to catch Sotard. He dropped his shoulder on this, Dick, and as he did, I think he got Sotard going the other way. You see that? And then Sotard leaning to his right. Suddenly it was going to his left. He reached with his glove, and it was too late.
Robinson was caught up the ice. I thought Svoboda played it pretty well.
Winds up in the net just under the glove on the far side.
Well, I guess the pep talk worked. Yesterday, the Soviets didn't practice. Instead, they were subjected to an hour and 15 minutes of a pep talk from their coaching staff.
Ivanov, the coach, reminded this young Soviet team of the great names in the past, Petrov, Harlamov, Yakushev, and told them that they can be every bit as good as those stars of the past. That was after losing in Quebec City, and you're right, it has worked.
Well, they're playing an excellent hockey game against the Canadiens, and it's typical of them. They have a total of 5 goals here on 19 shots.
And they're picking this one off, and Sotard up big with that save. He fell, the puck is still loose. It's 5-0. Red Army And they're on the attack again. No mercy at all shown. Babinov, he rolled it ahead. Into the corner, Makarov got it back. ЮMoney held it there for a moment. Now back in the corner again, and big Larry Robinson finally grabs the puck. A nice play to the blue line. Carbonneau is on the move. Canadian fans want a goal. Nyland is in there. Got away from the check. He was hit partially by Babinov. The big fellow didn't really hit him the way he wanted to. Now Nyland goes in and upends him. Now Nyland is chasing him again. Another belting behind the net against Sergei Babinov. And there are going to be penalties as Nyland is there pushing and shoving with Babinov.
Nyland might get 2 and Babinov 1.
Live from the Forum, Central Red Army and the Montreal Canadiens.
Right now, but Chris Nyland draws the extra 2 minutes, Ron.
And deservedly so. A little bit of stick work going on. First, they got the glove, then a little of this. Now Babinov is going to lose his temper, and this is the result of all of that. So the extra 2 minutes, I think, to Nyland. Lost his temper in the corner. They're not going to intimidate the Soviets. Sergei Babinov.
He's the oldest player on the team, Babinov, at 30, but no longer a member of the national team.
No longer. He played with them up until about 1980. I think he was part of the Olympic team in Lake Placid, and that was his swan song.
Tikhonov quoted widely to the effect that the hockey system in the Soviet Union is in a down period right now. Not as productive as it has been. You couldn't prove it by the Canadiens. They may have other thoughts about that.
Tell you,
and the Oilers.
Homotov and also Tiumenev are pretty good young players coming up.
It's 5-0, and the Soviets go into the zone. They'll pass it around and spring someone loose in the slot. Gerasimov forced back to the net. Carbonneau got a chance to clear it and couldn't. Fetisov waits there, rolls it to the other defenseman. Kasatonov, he got it back in front of the Canadiens, dump it out and down the ice. Minute and a half left of the Canadiens penalty. Kasatonov is number 6, and here he comes. Takes his time hitting the line, dropping it back, and here's where the speed will bring it up. Homotov went in there with it, stops, looks around, draws a man to him. The Canadiens, though, persist. They keep the box set up. Now it's centered again, right in front of the net. Homotov rolled it to the corner. He was in behind the net and couldn't roll it out front. At the line, Fetisov. He nearly lost it there. Hanging on to it, though, to make a play. Bukov waits, threw it back to the net, got it back again. Bukov turning around, and the net apparently is off its moorings, the Canadian goal, and the referee Andy Van Helleman called the play.
You know, these series evoke a lot of emotion, as we have mentioned, if the occasion demands, and that 75-76 series over that New Year's period. There was another Soviet team playing NHL teams, the Wings. They played a Sunday afternoon game in Buffalo that was seen nationally on CTV. Buffalo won at 12-6. The next night, Buffalo played here against Canadiens, and when they came on the ice, you were here with me, Ron, they got a standing ovation from the crowd at the Forum. And that's a first, maybe a last.
Soviets power play, 45 seconds left on it. They're leading 5-0. Passing it to the blue line. It's cleared over on this sideline. Stelnov. They don't get a shot, though, with Carbonneau and Gainey out there trying to kill this penalty. Canadiens are trapped. 3 of them come in. The Soviets whip it around. Makarov tried to set it up. Tiumenev to Makarov again, back to the line. Gusarov doesn't shoot it on the first try. He faked the shot and got Gainey down on his knees. It's played into the left side. He scored!
6-0. Tic-tac-toe.
And Makarov has a hat trick.
And the fans here respond now to the Soviets. And this is a pretty nice gesture. Listen to this.
Yeah. Really, what are you going to do? Yeah, they just moved it around. Watch this now. Watch Makarov, who's off to the side of the net now. They'll move it right in front. Bukov. There it is. Open side. It's almost a carbon copy of the first of the Makarov goals. But they just move it on the far boards. That is Stelnov. Just tapped it over. That's nothing that Sotard can do. And that's a hat trick for Makarov. His 4th goal of the tour.
27 years of age, as Ron mentioned. He's been the scoring leader in the Soviets Hockey Elite League 5 of the last 6 years. He was their outstanding player this recently completed season. Scored 6 goals in the Canada Cup in '84.
He's something coming through the system of the Soviets. He started out in Siberia, and we're going to get a goaltending change here as Patrick Roy is coming out. He started with Traktor Chelyabinsk, that's out in Siberia, then moved into Spartak, and then joined the Army, and that's the reason he's playing with the Central Army now, or did his Army duty.
This game is being seen in the Soviet Union. The announcers aren't here. They're calling it off at the television monitors back there. We're also being seen coast to coast in the United States by the facilities of ESPN. We can't welcome the Soviet viewers because they're not listening to us. The Americans are.
And the Soviets have rung up 6. And here they come again. Was in the net for the Canadiens. He is scheduled to go tomorrow, and I guess he will, against the Maple Leafs as the Canadiens go into Toronto tomorrow night. A New Year's hockey tradition continues from Montreal. Smith into the corner. Babinov chased him. Here's the shot. He scored! Naslund. And the fans get something to talk about this New Year's Eve.
Now Bobby Smith with that size got to that puck quickly in the corner and then just cleared it out in front. That's picked the lower corner, Dick.
Interesting reaction to a goal that makes it 6-1. But I think the fans, and you could tell from their applause of the Soviet goal, the last one, that they realize what this situation is. This is just a great hockey team playing a team that is on the rise, but certainly isn't in the great category yet. And I think
beautiful shot by Naslund. Canadiens needed that one at about the 12-minute mark of the second period. Back then it was 2-0 and the Habs were coming on, but the Soviets took over. Veselov going in there now. Vasilyev, 23 on the right side, is tied up. I.Gimаев into the corner. He beats his man and centered it. And there's another chance. Played back to the line. Kazatonov threw it into the corner. It's centered. Waugh being very careful, knocking it away with the stick. Now the Soviets continue their forechecking. Veselov was stopped, and the Canadiens come out. It's 6-1 now. The Canadiens goal seconds ago by Max Naslund. And loose play inside the Canadian blue line, though. Now Kerbers will try to move it out. Kerbers takes a look. Gets to the Green. Green to center. Played it up on the right wing. Canadiens are in across the line. Soviets trying to cover up. Shot is fired wide. We're up the halfway mark of the third period. Gerasimov didn't get very far in the first try. Now grabbed by Bukov near center. Back on this right side. Homatov going in, set it up. Gerasimov swings around with it. Throw it to an open man, but he's on too bad an angle and cannot shoot from there. It's centered. Gerasimov is stopped by Waugh. And Lawler nearly gave one away there. But he caught his man in time. Helped prevent him from getting a good shot at the Canadiens' net. Canadiens dumping into the line. Tremblay trying to move up with it. Going in on Fedizov. He faked him and moved around and then threw it off to the corner. McPhee in there. He is bumped by Big Fedizov. He comes up with a puck though. Canadian center. Robinson didn't get a good shot. It's to the side of the net and Bobby Smith now. More pressure by the Canadiens. Lawler at the line. He backhands one in. It's knocked high in the air. And Melenkov covered up. Omatov just threw it out of the zone down the ice. It's wide of the Canadiens' net. And icing will be called against the Soviet Red Army. Live from the Forum, Central Red Army and the Montreal Canadiens.
Now there is Mats Naslund, who put the Canadiens on the board. 6-1 the score. It came close again. Look out.
Robinson's shot, a hard one, is knocked away by Melenkov. Canadiens can't keep it in. Krutov nearly got going. Now Gainey in there with Nyland. Red Army coming up with the puck and clearing it out. Makarov was stopped at the Canadiens' blue line. 3 players fighting for possession. And the Canadiens, Svoboda, comes out with it. gives it to Robinson. He threw it through the middle. The pass too high for Carbonneau. And it's offside anyway with 8:18 left in the third period.
Well, they will have the Molson 3-star selection at the end of the game tonight. Makarov with his 3 goals, but I don't know, Ron, they couldn't or wouldn't give us any information on Sergei Milenkov, who's the goaltender here tonight. He's no slouch.
Not too bad, although I thought he had his weaknesses in the Quebec game. He certainly hasn't shown any here, but again, he hasn't had to deal with too much sustained pressure. The defense in front of him has been playing very well. I'll tell you something, Dick. I think the best Canadian out there, very interesting, is Mike McPhee. He's played very well, and he's been very, very tough, especially forechecker.
Well, he's on a roll. He's coming off his first NHL hat trick, scored in the Canadiens' last game here Saturday night.
Rozdietsky, Shepelev, and Zubin. The line out there for Red Army. Canadiens, Naslund with Bobby Smith and Darlene. 6-1, Red Army. Canadiens in possession of Smith at the line. He has to stop there. Nobody could move up on the play. And Red Army clearing it out as Shepelev coming down. He has Zubin up on the play, going in. Wow, stayed with him all the way. And he had to move in too far and couldn't get a shot. Canadiens trying to clear out of the zone along the boards. Naslund to stop. Bobby Smith, however, gives it to Robinson. Robinson to Naslund moving in there quickly. He dropped it back. Naslund again. Naslund in back of the net, centered it. And it's grabbed by Starikov. Starikov to the other side. Babanov for Red Army off the boards with it to center ice. It goes down the ice by Zubin. Svoboda tried to move away from the forechecking. Vasilyev is in there watching him. Robinson turns, got it as far as the line. Ryan Walter got a pass on the right wing. Naslund was going to the players' bench. The Canadiens change. Back for Vasilyev. Through the middle is Fetisov. He is stopped and he'll go back with it. Rolling it back to Kazatonov. He got it ahead on the right side. Vasilyev couldn't get very far at the Canadian blue line. And they'll just continue swinging back, trying to spring open the center ice area. The Canadiens are in now. Rolled out over the line. Nearly a 2-on-1 setup as Curvers had to hurry to stop it. A New Year's hockey tradition continues from Montreal. Canadiens trailing by 5 goals. It's centered again, but it got by everybody in the crease area and came out to Gerasimov. He rolled it up ahead to Bukov, dropping it back. Bukov again went after it. In the corner, he had it knocked away by Curvers. And the Canadiens just dump it out. They have 6 minutes to play in this hockey game. Canadiens trailing by 5. Red Army on the move again. It's cleared into the zone. Waugh, who replaced Doug Sotard here in this third period. Moved it off to the side, and the Canadiens go up with it. In across the line, Sprudlin. He had it hammered off his stick, and Green now has to wait for the Canadiens to come back on side. Curvers, a rink-wide pass. Canadiens nearly got caught, changing over there with too many players on the ice. Genie rolled it in. Nyland, Carbonneau! By Milenkov and Carbonneau. He guessed and he made the right move, and it came up. A great save by the Soviet goaltender. And they go in again. Gerasimov turning around on the board. Stick handles out in front. He left it. There's his shot by Shepelev, which is wide, and it goes into the crowd. That's not a bad save by Milenkov.
Ron, it's a familiar story in this building when these teams meet. Good goaltending. As we take a look at the stop he makes off Carbonneau, where is Tretiak? He's going to become a coach, is he not?
Yeah, he's going to coach the next great goaltender, they say, in the Soviet Union is going to be a kid named Bela Shakin. He's from Sakhalin Island, familiar, of course, to people who followed that crash of the Korean Airlines thing. But he's from there. He's playing with the junior team now in Hamilton, Ontario, and Tretiak is working very closely with him. As for Tretiak himself, he's very much involved with the Soviet Olympic program now, and not just hockey, the overall Olympic situation. So he's been given a very good position in the Soviet Union.
Canadiens getting a goal from Naslund here in the third period to save some face, but they're trailing 6-1 with less than 5 minutes to play. In this third period, Svoboda going in, takes his shot. Off the pad of Milenkov, rolled into the corner. Canadiens in after it, but Krutov is going to clear it out to Makarov at center. Makarov trying to split the defense. He's sent flying. The play continues, and the Canadiens move back. 3 of them go in on the play. Carbonneau along the boards, tried to center it, and it hopped off his stick and went in behind Chris Nyland. Back out to center, Makarov whipped the pass in. Babinov played it on the boards for Krutov. Krutov in the corner. Gave it to the defenseman Babinov, who's in deep on the play. He flipped it along the boards, and Svoboda is back. Soft pass ahead. Canadiens' Bob Gainey comes to center. Gainey's right wing pass. Nyland didn't get a good shot on the net. Now Robinson, he centered it. This will be a 2-on-1 for the Soviets. Makarov got rid of it. Coming in, Veselov off the outside of the goal post on that brilliant 2-on-1. They're still in there. It's centered, and Fedosov was nearly set up for a shot at young Roy. Canadiens with 3:35 to play in the third period, trailing by 5 goals to this Central Red Army team. It's picked off at the Soviet line. Smith centered it. Naslund, the goal scorer for the Canadiens, in there again. Naslund turning around in the corner. He got away from Fedosov and centered it. Lawler has to move up the shot. Deflected and wide. Naslund again centered it. Bobby Smith to the line. Canadiens try to keep it in. Ludwig hooked it off to the corner. They're still on top of the puck. Now it'll be cleared. Gerasimov to the line. Not out. Naslund right in. And he was stopped by Milenkov, and a penalty coming up to Central Red Army. Live from the Forum, Central Red Army and the Montreal Canadiens.
Soviet defenseman who a couple of years ago was drafted by the New Jersey Devils.
Well, if they could ever get him, he's so much overshadowed by Fetisov, but a very, very good defenseman. They work as a pair, of course, through years of world and Olympic competition.
Gusarov, the defenseman, fired it all the way down the ice. Waugh to the net, stopping it, decides to feed it ahead to Robinson. Forechecking Robinson on the play. Gerasimov, but the Canadiens get to center. Dahlin tipped it into the zone. Back quickly is Gusarov, tried to play it out and couldn't. It's centered to Bobby Smith. He lost it, and the Soviets shoot it down the ice again. Waugh out of the net. Minute and a half left in the Central Red Army penalty, and 2:20 left in the third period. 6-1 is the score. Red Army in front of the Canadiens. Naslund has scored the only goal for Montreal here in the third period. And now Robinson goes in, dropping it to Dahlin. He's checked right away, and the Soviets move very swiftly. And it's down the ice again. 2 minutes to play. And a minute left on the power play, but the Canadiens unable to do very much about it. Omatov going in. He gave it to Makarov in the corner. He's in back of the net. Look out, he centers it. Waugh, though, with a skate against the post. He held it there.
Patrick Roy, 20 years of age, who, as Bob said, wasn't supposed to play tonight, but has taken over here in this third period from Doug Sotar. Ron, I think you hit it properly when you said the Soviet system, and in this case their penalty killing system, is just such that it upsets teams that are used to our system of penalty killing.
Well, every time you talk with a rookie, Dick, you always, it comes up, I say, well, what's the difference between junior or college or whatever in the NHL? It's the speed with which things are done. Well, a person like Mike Lawler may be finding speed in the NHL a step up, but he's finding that there's a step up from that. And then he's seeing it with the Soviet team here. There's not a bad skater on the team, and they're constantly at you.
And yet we have to remember that these teams don't see these teams. It's a different
thing, too.
Svoboda lost possession of the puck at the Soviet line. Krutov nearly went in there himself. Ryan Walters pass to the right side. Deblois swinging in there. Stopping shooting. And that went off the glove of Milenkov. A minute 20 left in the third period. The Soviets have won another game. Here's a shot. That's knocked away by Milenkov. Canadiens keep it in. Naslund, the only man to beat them tonight, tipped it in for Walter. He got a stick on it, but the puck went wide of the net. And now, coming down to 1 minute remaining in the third period of this New Year's Eve hockey game in the Montreal Red Army, now at full strength, and they're leading the Canadiens 6-1. Canadiens back to center. Chris Nyland got to the line, left it for Carbonneau, centered it. Deblois stopped, and it's cleared out of the zone. Back in for Babinov. He waits, threw a pass along the blue line. Makarov decides to run out the clock if he can, and he brings it back. This will rub it in a bit. Kazatonov fired it outside the line. The Canadiens trapped was Carbonneau inside, and Gainey had to wait. 20 seconds to play. 6-1 the score. Soviets in control, on top of the puck every inch of the way. Coming in Gimaev. He played it to the right side. Vasilyev in around the net. Coming out front. Here's the shot. A shot whistled wide by Fetisov. Wide. And it's cleared down the ice. The siren goes. This game is over. And Central Red Army has defeated the Canadiens in convincing fashion. 6-1.
Well, there's our look without the mask at Sergei Milenkov as his teammates gather around and congratulate him. Shots on goal favored the Canadiens, believe it or not, 24-22 overall. And we have the Molson three-star selection upcoming. So they're about to announce the three stars here at the Montreal Forum.
Sergei Makarov.
That's no surprise. Brilliant display by Makarov tonight.
La deuxième étoile, the second star, Andrei Kamyutov. Et la troisième étoile, the third star, Vladimir Krutov.
So, Ron, no surprise, three Soviets named.
Not at all. You know, if you're looking at a member of the Canadiens, as I said earlier, Mike McPhee might be the one you would look at as the one that was outstanding. In a game like this, it was, I think, a McPhee who was the one that was banging and bumping and doing the job in the corners. That's what the only place they could catch the Soviets on a night like this.
So a learning experience. Glenn Sather said the other night in Edmonton after that particular game, well, if we don't play good hockey players, we won't get better. And I guess the Canadiens have to look at it in that way. Chris Nyland smiling with Babinov, the man that he had to hassle with some high sticks and sour looks exchanged. All of that forgotten in the traditional international type exhibition handshake routine.
A big Batiste out there, number 2, who played an excellent game back on the blue line. Some people like to compare him with Bobby Orr. I like to compare him more with Doug Harvey. He has those great moves, especially under pressure. They get a big hand as they come off the ice.
Well, that was from the salute, and this is the custom with the Soviet players, and the fans are standing, applauding them. They all stand out there, Ron, at center ice and salute the crowd on both sides of the forum.
Well, there were some moments of sourness on the part of the fans, but all in all, the atmosphere seems to be fairly festive on this New Year's Eve, and the Soviets received a nice salute from the Montreal fans. Larry Robinson over there at the bench area as the Soviets leave the ice.
He said that the Red Army team would play to its potential tonight because the Montreal Canadiens represented something very big in their schedule. We are joined now by the coach of the team, Viktor Tikhonov, and Eggy Kuklowitz, interpreter. Maybe you can ask the coach if his team did indeed play to potential tonight.
Раньше сегодня Петр сказал, что наша команда сегодня будет очень показательной. Я думаю, что очень сегодня играли.
Почему так играли хорошо?
Так.
Ну, мы готовились к этому матчу особенно, потому что в Монреале играть плохо нельзя. Здесь очень любят, уважают хоккей и очень понимают. Публика здесь очень понимает хоккей. И поэтому мы держали сегодня экзамен.
The reason why we played so well tonight is because the people here in Montreal understand hockey, as do hockey cans all across Canada. And we cannot play bad in the Montreal Forum because the people here are good hockey fans.
Much has been made, Aggie, as you know, about our hockey changing, becoming more European. Maybe you can ask the coach how his hockey has changed over the last 15 years.
Сейчас в национальной лиге наши хоккей начинаются как европейский хоккей играть. Там есть тоже, ваши хоккей тоже такие, что вы учите из НХЛ.
Ну, мы видим, что в национальной хоккейной лиге черты европейского хоккея уже сейчас наблюдается. Но то, что мы учимся обязательно у Национальной хоккейной лиги, у команды Канады, многому, потому что мы считаем, что умение играть с полной отдачей, не жалея сил, постоянная нацеленность на игру от первой до последней секунды, оно дает вот то напряжение, ту красоту, которую мы вот уважаем в хоккее.
Okay, they say that certainly they see the changes taking place. They see teams in the National Hockey League really playing a European hockey. They're changing in that area. But they're also seeing that they have changed a bit themselves. They have learned to play with tenacity from the start of the game to the very, very end, because they noticed over the years that the NHL teams would not give up. And they play with a lot of character. So they have learned this from the National Hockey League, and they are beginning to employ that in their own hockey system.
Я бы хотел еще добавить сюда, что вот эти такие встречи между лучшими командами НХЛ и вот, европейскими командами, в частности нашей команды, они дают очень хорошую возможность приобрести опыт. Они вот такие встречи развивают хоккей мировой.
What he's saying is that he wants to add to what he just said a little while ago by stating that when the National Hockey League and the Soviet hockey teams meet, or anybody from Europe, in this way, that hockey has to benefit from this. I mean, we learn from each other, and this is the reason why we're able to play at such high caliber of hockey as we are today.
One final question. There's been a lot of conjecture here as to who will replace Tretiak on the great Soviet national teams. Did we see the replacement tonight?
Сегодня мы так все так люди говорят, что там ваши братья очень плохо играли, а мы сегодня видим очень хорошие братья. Мы можем подумать, что это будет ваши братья на будущее.
Как играл Третьяк, так сложно кому-то сыграть. Это, наверное, такого вратаря долго не будет. Но что касается вот сейчас, вот Мыльников играет, и я сейчас просматриваю молодых вратарей. Я думаю, что вот в ближайшие годы появятся у нас сильные вратари.
He's saying that before we go any further, there is only one Tretiak, and it's going to be very, very difficult to replace a person like him. However, Melnikov did play very well today, but we also have some young goalkeepers coming up in our system that we think will establish themselves very, very early. They are still young, but they are learning, and with the experience, we feel we'll have somebody that's really, really adequate.
Well, Aggie, would you give the coach our thanks and wish him a happy New Year for us?
Мы поздравляем вам и с Новым годом.
Спасибо. Я тоже от всей души поздравляю всех, кто участвовал здесь, и поздравляю всех зрителей, которые наблюдали сегодняшнюю игру, и весь народ Канады с Новым годом. Пожелать счастья, успехов в работе и хорошего настроения на весь год.
He wants to thank you very, very much, and from the bottom of his heart, he wants to convey to the people that saw the game here in the Montreal Forum, and also to the people across Canada, Happy New Year, happiness and health.
Okay, we have to go. We'll be right back.